Your liver is screaming right now and you cannot hear it, not because you are deaf, not because you are distracted, but because the liver is the only organ in your body that has no pain receptors. It is the only one that works in absolute silence, without complaining, without warning, without asking for help, even when it is being destroyed from the inside. And exactly that is what makes it so dangerous. Let me ask you a question. Do you feel tired more often than normal? Not the tiredness of having run a marathon, but that strange tiredness, that heaviness that appears in the morning, even though you have slept 8 hours? Have they told you in some test that your liver enzymes are a little elevated and your doctor told you not to worry? Do you feel your belly more swollen than a few years ago, especially after eating? Have you noticed that your digestion is no longer what it used to be? That the foods you used to tolerate well now cause you discomfort? If you answered yes to any of those questions, you need to listen to what I am going to tell you in the next few minutes, because those symptoms that seem normal, those that we attribute to age or stress, may be the only signal your body is capable of sending you when your liver is in trouble. Hello, I am Dr. John Lupin, and today we are talking about fatty liver. And I know what you are thinking. That happens to people who drink alcohol, to those who eat very badly, to those who do not take care of their health. But listen to me carefully, because this is what most people do not know. Non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is the most common type in people over 50 years old, does not need you to drink a single drop of alcohol to develop. It does not need you to follow an extraordinarily bad diet. It can appear silently in people who think they are taking care of themselves, in people who eat moderately, in active people. When it appears, it does not hurt, it is not seen, it is not felt, it simply keeps growing. The statistics are hard to ignore. More than 30% of adults over 50 years old have some degree of fatty liver without knowing it. 30 out of every 100 people who are sitting right now in front of this screen, and the vast majority of them never received a clear diagnosis. No one ever explained to them what was happening, and much less what they could do naturally to reverse it. I call fatty liver the silent thief, and I use that word with full intention, because a thief does not announce when he enters your house. He does not knock on the door. He enters when you least expect it, takes what he needs, and disappears before you notice that something is missing. Fatty liver does exactly the same. It steals your energy, steals the clarity of your mind, steals the quality of your sleep, steals years of well-being that you deserve to live, and it does so without leaving visible traces for a long time. But there is something that this thief did not expect. There is something that your body has in its favor, and that nature put at your disposal long before any pill, any pharmacological treatment, any complex medical protocol existed. There is a nutrient, a specific vitamin, that the most rigorous scientific studies of the last 20 years point to as the most effective natural compound to reverse the damage of fatty liver, reduce liver inflammation, and help your cells regenerate what you thought was lost forever. And the most incredible thing, what surprises me the most every time I explain it, is that this vitamin is accessible, it is not expensive, it is not exotic, it does not come from a rare plant from a distant continent. It is in foods that you can find in any market, in any store in your neighborhood. The problem is not its availability. The problem is that no one told you that you needed it. No one explained to you what it does inside your liver. No one showed you the science that supports it. That changes today. In this video, I am going to explain to you exactly what is happening to your liver when fat accumulates in its cells. I am going to show you how this vitamin works at the molecular level with words that you are going to understand without unnecessary technical terms. I am going to tell you what natural foods contain it and how to incorporate them into your daily routine. And I am going to give you a concrete 30-day plan so you can start giving your liver what it needs to recover. But first, I need to tell you something about the conventional health system and its relationship with fatty liver, something that probably no one has told you before, something that explains why millions of people have been living with this problem for years without finding a real solution. Because the story of why this vitamin was ignored for so long says much more about how modern medicine works than about the vitamin itself. The medical system has a response for fatty liver. The problem is that that response does not cure it, it only manages it. And to understand why we got here, I first need to explain to you what is happening exactly inside your body when the liver begins to accumulate fat. not with medical encyclopedia terms, but with an image that you are going to remember every time you think about your liver. Imagine that your liver is a sponge, a large, firm, active sponge that works 24 hours a day, filtering your blood, processing what you eat, eliminating toxins, producing the proteins that your body needs to live. When that sponge is healthy, it is elastic, porous, capable of doing its job with precision. Now imagine that the same sponge slowly, without you noticing, is being soaked in oil, not water oil, because oil does not go away, oil stays. And a sponge soaked in oil can no longer absorb anything else. It becomes rigid, heavy, slow. It no longer filters well. It no longer processes well. It can no longer do what it used to do before. That is exactly fatty liver. In medical terms, it is called non-alcoholic hepatic steatosis, or by its initials in English, NAFLD. But the technical name does not matter as much as understanding what is happening. The cells of your liver, the hepatocytes, are being invaded by triglycerides that cannot be processed correctly, and that accumulation is not static. It does not stay there doing nothing. It generates inflammation. It generates oxidative stress. It generates a cascade of cellular damage that, if not stopped, can progress to more serious forms, such as steatohepatitis, fibrosis, and even cirrhosis. And how did your liver get to that point? That is what matters most to me to explain to you, because here is the key to everything. Non-alcoholic fatty liver has three main roots that work together. The first is insulin resistance, which is when your cells no longer respond adequately to insulin, and the pancreas is forced to produce more and more to compensate. That excess insulin in the blood orders the liver to convert sugars into fat and store them. The second root is low-grade chronic inflammation. That's silent inflammation that does not hurt or is seen, but that goes eroding the tissues with the constancy of water on stone. And the third is oxidative stress, which is the accumulation of free radicals inside the liver tissue, unstable molecules that damage the membranes of the cells and accelerate their deterioration. These three roots feed each other. Insulin resistance aggravates inflammation. Inflammation multiplies oxidative stress. Oxidative stress damages more hepatocytes, and the cycle continues silently while you live your life without suspecting anything. Now, what does conventional medicine do in the face of all this? The honest answer is that it does what it can within its limits, and its limits in this case are considerable. When you arrive at a consultation with your liver enzyme values elevated, the most frequent path is this. They tell you to lose weight, to reduce fats, to exercise, and to come back in 6 months to repeat the tests. If the situation is more serious, they may prescribe medications for cholesterol or for glucose, not because there is a drug approved specifically for non-alcoholic fatty liver, but because they are used indirectly, hoping that by improving those parameters, the liver will also improve. And here is where I want you to reflect. The most prescribed drugs to treat the factors associated with fatty liver have something in common. All of them are processed by the liver. The same organ that is damaged is the one that has to metabolize the medications that are supposed to help it. It is like asking someone with a broken leg to carry the weight of their own treatment. It is not that the doctors who prescribe them are negligent. It is that the system does not have, within its conventional pharmacology, a clean, direct, and specific solution to reverse fatty liver. But nature does have one, and that is what makes what I'm going to tell you now so extraordinary. For decades, while the pharmaceutical industry searched for a synthetic molecule that could be patented and commercialized as a treatment for fatty liver, independent researchers were publishing studies on a nutrient that the human body has been recognizing since always, a liposoluble nutrient, that is, one that dissolves in fat, that acts exactly in the same place where fatty liver generates its greatest destruction, inside the membranes of the liver cells, in the very heart of oxidative stress. This nutrient does not generate dependence, does not damage the kidney, does not overload the liver itself to be processed, does not have an endless list of side effects on the prospectus, and the most important clinical studies of the last 20 years published in top-level scientific journals consistently point to it as the natural compound with the greatest evidence to reduce liver inflammation, improve liver enzymes, and reverse the initial damage of fatty liver. Its name is vitamin E. and what this vitamin does inside your liver is something you need to understand to truly value what you have within reach. Its name does not sound like a miracle, but its results do. Vitamin E has existed in your body since you were born. It is not a strange substance. It is not a compound that came from a laboratory. It is a nutrient that nature designed to protect exactly the type of tissue that fatty liver destroys. And understanding why it works so well requires that we first understand what is the destruction mechanism that we need to stop. When your liver accumulates excess fat, something that scientists call lipid peroxidation occurs. Translated into simple words, the fat stored inside your liver cells begin to oxidize like iron that oxidizes when left in the open air. That oxidation generates free radicals, unstable and aggressive molecules that attack the membranes of the liver cells, damage their DNA, and activate the inflammation processes that end up destroying healthy tissue. It is a chain reaction. One free radical damages a cell, that cell releases more radicals, and those radicals damage more cells. If no one interrupts that chain, the damage accumulates and progresses. Vitamin E interrupts that chain and does so in a way that no synthetic molecule has managed to replicate with the same precision. Being liposoluble, vitamin E integrates directly into the membranes of the liver cells, which are also made of fat. From inside that membrane, it acts as a molecular shield that neutralizes free radicals before they can start the oxidation process. It does not react after the damage, it prevents it at the origin. But vitamin E does not act alone on a single front. Its action on fatty liver develops in 3 steps that work simultaneously and progressively. The first is protection. Vitamin E blocks the oxidation of the fats accumulated in the liver, cutting the chain of free radicals before they generate active inflammation. This effect is immediate at the cellular level and is the foundation of all the benefits that come after. The second is regulation. By reducing oxidative stress, vitamin E decreases the markers of liver inflammation, especially ALT and AST, which are the enzymes that your doctor measures when checking the state of your liver. When those values drop, it is not just a number on a piece of paper. It is the concrete signal that the cells of your liver are being damaged with less intensity. The third is regeneration. With less inflammation and less oxidative stress, the liver can activate its own repair mechanisms. The damaged cells are eliminated in an orderly manner, and the healthy tissue begins to recover its space. The human liver has an extraordinary regenerative capacity, but it can only use it when the internal environment stops being hostile. Vitamin E creates that environment. The most important study that supports this was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, one of the most rigorous scientific journals in the world. It is called the PIVEN study, and its results were conclusive. Patients with non-alcoholic fatty liver without diabetes who received vitamin E showed a significant reduction in liver inflammation and steatosis compared to the group that received placebo. It was not a small study or a marginal investigation. It was a controlled clinical trial that changed the way many hepatology specialists view this nutrient. Now, the practical question is this: where do you find vitamin E naturally? Because nature put it in foods that are accessible, tasty, and easy to incorporate into any diet. Wheat germ oil is the most concentrated source that exists. Sunflower seeds and almonds are options that you can consume daily with a simple handful. Avocado, which in many Latin American countries is part of everyday cooking, is an excellent source combined with healthy fats that improve its absorption. Spinach and extra virgin olive oil complete that group of foods that do not need a prescription, do not need a pharmacy, and have no side effects at their natural levels of consumption. And there is something that enhances the effect of vitamin E on the liver even more. Vitamin C present in lemon, kiwi, and red pepper has the capacity to regenerate vitamin E once it has neutralized a free radical, returning it to its active form. Selenium, present in Brazil, nuts, and seafood, acts as a cofactor that amplifies the liver's antioxidant defense. Together, they form what I like to call the rescue team of your liver. Each one fulfills a function, and when they work together, the result is greater than the sum of its parts. Your liver has the capacity to recover. It always had it. It just needed the right tools. You do not need to start tomorrow with a list of 40 changes. You do not need to empty your pantry, buy expensive supplements, or transform your life overnight. You need to start today with 3 simple, sustainable pillars backed by the same science we just reviewed together. Because the difference between information and transformation lies in what you do with what you learned. And what you learned today is powerful. You learned that your liver may be damaging itself in silence without you feeling it. You learned that that damage has concrete roots: insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, and oxidative stress. And you learned that there is a natural nutrient, vitamin E, with solid scientific evidence to interrupt that process and help your liver recover from the inside. Now, the question is simple. What do you do with that? The first pillar is nutrition. I am not asking you to follow a perfect diet. I am asking you for something much smaller and much more powerful. Incorporate 2 natural sources of vitamin E into your day every day. A handful of almonds in the morning, a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil over your lunch or dinner. That is all you need to start. If you can add avocado 3 times a week, even better. If you can squeeze half a lemon over your meals so that vitamin C regenerates the tocopherol that your body is using, you are enhancing the effect at no additional cost. It is not about eating perfectly. It is about giving your liver the materials it needs to repair itself consistently, day after day. The second pillar is reduction. And here I want to be very honest with you, because this pillar requires something that goes beyond information. It requires decision. Fatty liver feeds on refined sugars, industrial fats, ultra-processed products that flood your body with fructose and oxidized oils that no human liver was designed to process in the quantities that the modern world offers. I am not asking you to eliminate everything at once. I am asking you to identify one ultra-processed product that you are consuming frequently, just one, and reduce it this week, the following week another. Slow progression is infinitely more powerful than the radical change that lasts 3 days. Your liver did not get damaged in 1 week. It is not going to repair itself in 1 week, but every small decision you make in the right direction is a message you send to your body. I am on your side. The third pillar is movement. And I know that this word sometimes generates resistance, especially when the body no longer has the same energy as before. That is why I want to be very precise. I am not talking about intense exercise. I am not talking about the gym or exhausting routines. I'm talking about 20 minutes of daily walking, because walking is the only free medication without side effects and available to anyone that directly reduces insulin resistance, which is the main root of fatty liver. When you walk, your muscles consume glucose without needing insulin. That lowers the pressure on your pancreas, reduces insulin levels in the blood, and takes away from the liver the signal that orders it to continue accumulating fat. 20 minutes every day. That is your second most powerful medication after vitamin E. And to measure if this plan is working, I want to leave you a concrete tool. Before starting, ask your doctor for a blood test that includes the values of ALT and AST, which are the liver enzymes that reflect the level of damage and inflammation in your liver. Write down those numbers. Repeat the test after 30 days. Those values will speak to you about your liver with more honesty than any symptom, with more precision than any sensation. If the numbers improve, and in the majority of people who follow these 3 pillars, they do improve, you will have the most motivating evidence that exists, that of your own body. Your liver has a capacity for recovery that medical science recognizes with a very specific name: hepatic regeneration. It is the unique ability that this organ has to renew its own tissue when the internal environment allows it. I do not call that an extraordinary medical phenomenon. I call it the wisdom of your own body, a wisdom that was always there, waiting for you to give it the conditions to act. You are not late. It is never too late to make a decision that changes the direction of your health. The liver you have today does not have to be the liver you have in 6 months. And the first step begins with something as simple as a handful of almonds, a drizzle of olive oil, and 20 minutes walking under the morning sun. If this video brought you something valuable, subscribe to this channel and activate the bell so that no video arrives late to your hands. And leave me in the comments your answer to this question. When was the last time you checked your liver enzymes? Your answer can help someone else who is going through the same thing as you.